Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well today. Well, I just want to take a second to invite you to check out my new project, bradcartwright.com. I have created all of the review resources that you need if you are an IB student heading to the May 2020 exam or an AP student heading to the May 2020 exam. You will find video lessons, notes, slides, key terms, practice questions, and all of the important information that you need to go to bed feeling good about yourself this coming May. So head to bradcartwright.com, create a free account. You don't need a credit card. Check out all of the free previews. And if you're interested, use the coupon code May2020 to receive a discount. All right, my friends? Excellent. Good luck in your studies. And to give you an idea of what it's like over there, check out the following video. Well, here we go on our next journey, this time on international economics. And international economics, of course, is the connection between two different macroeconomies and how they start to interact with one another. And this video is just designed to take a look at where we're headed. I think it's really helpful at the beginning of any unit to know, or any course, to know like, okay, what are the steps that I'm gonna go on? Where's the path, right? Here I am at the beginning. What's the second, third, fourth, fifth step along the way? And that's what I wanna go through right now. So let's take a look. There are 5 different units in international economics that we take a look at, okay? The first one is called, why do countries trade? It's just a super interesting little question, like why would countries trade, right? And that chapter breaks things down in a very clear way to understand why it is that countries benefit, or what are the gains from trade. We'll look at concepts that you may have known about from somewhere in your life, because these two concepts kind of come up a lot in some sectors of society, or some discussion sectors of society, some conversations you may have had. And those are the ideas of absolute and comparative advantage. And then we'll take a look at the world governing organization that looks after world trade, which is called the World Trade Organization. Okay, so there's chapter 1. Chapter 2, we'll take a look at free trade, what that means, what are the benefits of free trade, what are the arguments for free trade, and of course the arguments against free trade. And the arguments against free trade would be the arguments for protectionism, okay? So this is in the news a lot, right? Like countries trying to make sure that their economies grow by trading with others, but not at the consequence of their own people, especially their workers or their farmers or their manufacturing sectors. And we'll take a look actually at 3 really interesting diagrams. One's called the protective tariff diagram, one's called the protective subsidy diagram, and the other one's called the protective quota diagram. And those are all based on this notion of a free trade diagram for international economics, which is what we'll start that unit with when we get to it. Okay, so free trade and protectionism, unit number 2 in our studies of international economics. Well, then the third one is even cooler because it looks at exchange rates. Fixed exchange rates, floating exchange rates, managed exchange rates, and this is the stuff that goes on at the highest level of government institutions, central banks, governing bodies who decide like, man, how is our currency impacted by trade? Because you have to realize that like every little thing that is sold between nations impacts the exchange rate between those countries. Because in economics, the way we study it is we pretend like you can only get certain currencies in the actual physical location where they're located. So I'm in Santiago, Chile, so I can only spend, this is our theory, pesos here. So if anybody wants to buy Chilean goods and it's a Chilean company, guess what? They have to take their dollars or their Argentinian pesos, turn them into Chilean pesos, and as a result, that's going to have an impact on the exchange rate. And there are 3 systems: fixed, floating, and then the morphed, which is more realistic than any of them, in the mixed exchange rate system. Okay, so that's pretty exciting. That's chapter 3, or unit 3. Then we'll look at balance of payments. This is where economics language like takes over our brains and we can't make sense of what we're talking about because we're using words in ways that we don't normally use words, like they don't add up. But that's just a common thing that happens in economics, and all you have to do in that regard is just remember like, hey, I'm learning a new language, right? If you're learning Spanish from English, like you just have to go, whoa, that's not what the word meant to me before, but I guess, okay, I'll use it that way, okay? So balance of payments sounds all fancy, and all it is the tracking of money coming into a country versus the tracking of money going out of a country, both for imports and exports, and then we add them together and we come up with a sum. And then because we're economists, we can always make anything equal whatever we want to, which in this case is zero, okay? So balance of payments is the fourth unit that we're gonna study. And then lastly, we're gonna talk about economic integration. And there are actually 6 stages of economic integration that countries work towards in order to have better trade relationships between them. There are some advantages to different levels of integration. There's some disadvantages, of course. And we also have this really fascinating thing that's happening on the planet right now, which is the European Union, which gives us a real live example of economic integration as far as it can possibly go between nations that aren't actually part of the same nation itself. So it's pretty cool, okay? So why do countries trade? Free trade and protectionism, exchange rates, balance of payments, economic integration, the 5 units of study in this course. And I'm telling you, international economics just like, boom, blows your mind away because all of a sudden you start seeing the things that you're learning in this course in regular life on the radio, on the BBC, on NPR, wherever it is that you consume your news. All right, my friends, well, let's get rolling. Welcome to International Economics and onward to the first unit. Why do countries trade?